واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Beloved brothers, respected sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to start off with the time nearing the death of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Aisha radiallahu anha, she was asked to describe the illness of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And she said that he fell severely ill. This is just a few days, a few hours before his passing. And she said that he fell severely ill. And he asked the people around him, he said, he said, pour for me some water in a pitcher. And so when they poured some water for him, he washed himself, he took a bath. And then as he tried to get up, he passed out. He felt unconscious. And then a few moments later, he regained consciousness and he said, did the people pray? And they told him, La hum yantadhirunaka ya Rasulullah. He said, no, ya Rasulullah, they are waiting for you. And then he said again, and pour some water from the pitcher, and they did, and he would wash himself up, and then he would try to get up and he would fall unconscious again. And then he would get up again, and the first thing that would come out of his mouth was, did the people pray? And they would tell him, La hum yantadhirunaka ya Rasulullah, no, ya Rasulullah, they're waiting for you. SubhanAllah, brothers and sisters, you see this situation where Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, at a time when he is so severely ill that he was to pass away from this illness. You can kind of call it nowadays in age, he was on his deathbed. And at that time, as he falls unconscious, he wakes up in the middle of his unconsciousness, he wakes up, and the first thing that comes to his mind, comes to his tongue is, and the people pray. And you see, subhanAllah, the same spirit, the same level of concern for the salah in his khulafa, those who came after him. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the interesting thing, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he used to make this dua. He used to say, oh Allah, bless me with shahada, قتلا في سبيلك, dying in your way, ووفاة في بلد نبيك, and that I pass away in the city of your prophet. So his daughter, Hafsa radiallahu ta'ala, she asked him, he said, how could that be? Because in her mind, he's thinking that, if he wants to pass away in the way of Allah, and, whatever battles take place, they take place outside of Medina, but yet he's saying he wants to pass away in Medina. So he said, Allah Azza wa Jal does what he wills. This is Umar radiallahu anhu. And we all know the story that when he was leading the salah, a Majusi guy, a fire worshipper, came and attacked him. And he falls down and he's unconscious. And they take him, and in some narrations it is described that he was so severely hurt that if they would make him sit, his abdomen was so severely hurt that the inner parts of his body were kind of falling out. And in that state, he gains unconsciousness and he says, what? Did the people pray? You see, brothers and sisters, how many of you here, by the way, sleep talk? Anybody? I want to tell you if I sleep talk. But some of us, we sleep talk, right? You wake up in the middle of the night and your sibling, or if you're married, your wife will tell you, when you were talking last night, you were yapping it away. You ask yourself, So you ask yourself, what do you say at that time? When you are in that state, when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're not conscious, you're not really thinking about what you're saying. And at that time you say stuff. What do you say? Whatever, different stuff. Whatever was on your mind. Right? Whatever you were thinking about, whatever happened, chances are more than likely that's what you're gonna say. Whatever is you're consumed by, that's what you're gonna say, probably. But now you see, this is not a time when you're just sleeping. This is the time when the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and after him, Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they are in, for lack of a better word, they're kind of in the throes of death. They're in an illness that is they're going to pass away from, and in that time, as they regain unconsciousness, the first thing that consumes them, that they are thinking about, is the salah. Is the salah. Asalla an-nas. Did the people pray? So brothers and sisters, first thing that we ask ourselves today, and this is food for thought for each and every one of us. Where is salah? Where is salah in my life? How important, how valuable is salah to me in my life? I see there are some of us, some of the brothers and sisters who are here, they are young enough to be students. You're probably in college. Your final exams are coming up. If your professor was to tell you that, hey, you have a final exam coming up, and I'm gonna tell you the first question of the exam, and that question is worth 90% of the grade. The rest is 10%. This first question, 90% of your grade. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what that question is. What are you gonna do? You're gonna forget about everything else. You're gonna focus on that one question. You're gonna focus on that one because you'll say that, well, if I bombed everything else, you don't want to bomb everything, but if I didn't do as well, I'm gonna get this question right. To Allah belong with us in the example. He has told us at the time of his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of judgment when we are held accountable. Inna awwala ma yuhasabu bil 'abdi yawm al-qiyamah min 'amalihi salatuh. That the first thing that the person is going to be held accountable for, kind of sort of, you can say the first question of the test, is going to be the salah. And then he said, if that is in order, if the salah is in order, then you'll pass, everything will be okay. You'll pass. وإن فسدت فقد خاب وخسر. And that salah is corrupt, if that's not in order, if the salah is messed up, then he's lost. Then he could have done other things, but it's not going to help a whole lot. It's not going to help a whole lot. So now, brothers and sisters, do we believe in Allah? Of course we do. Do we believe in the day of judgment? Of course we do. Do we believe that we are going to be held accountable? Of course we do. And we know that the first question we are going to be asked about, what the first question in that test is going to be, you also know that question. So perhaps it behooves us that we spend a lot of time really focusing on getting that question right. Doing well in that question. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us in a different hadith that Allah Azza wa Jal has made 5 salawat obligatory, 5 salawat faradahunna Allah. And then he said, whoever does their wudu well, whoever perfects or excels in doing that wudu for the salah, and prays that salah on time, and وَأَتَمَّ رُكُوعَهُنَّ وَخُشُوعَهُنَّ, and who completes, who perfects its ruku' and its sense of khushu', the sense of humility, the sense of fear, the sense of awe in front of Allah Azza wa Jalla. كان له عند الله عهد أن يغفر له. Here's a promise of Allah Azza wa Jalla that He will forgive him. And whoever doesn't, says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he has no promise with Allah. If Allah wills to forgive, He will forgive him, or if He wills to punish him, He will punish him. So that's the first question brothers and sisters, we are going to be asked, we know that for now, it behooves us that we spend considerable amount of time really focusing in that, getting that question right. Salah is our primary defense against shaitan. Each and every one of us, let's be honest with ourselves, we struggle with things. Some of us may struggle with getting angry. Some of us struggle with cursing. Some of us struggle with drugs. Some of us struggle with lying, cheating, whatever that may be. Because shaitan is constantly at work. He always works. Some of us might be struggling with our dealings with the opposite gender. Some of us may struggle with going to websites we're not supposed to go to, and so on. Each and every one of us, I'm sure we have a list of things we struggle with. And that happens because of the constant hard work of shaitan. He told Allah Azza wa Jal in his audacity, he told them, لَأَقْعُدَنَّ لَهُمْ صِرَاطَكَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ. Especially when you try to do things right, shaitan said, I will for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, definitely, I'm going to sit for them on your straight path, O Allah. I'm going to sit on your straight path. Notice here, side point. Shaitan doesn't come to bother you if you're watching a movie. He doesn't come to bother you if you're attending a concert. He doesn't come really to bother you if you're watching, some show, whatever that may be. You're indulged in something, that may be displeasing to Allah. He's not going to come and bother you because He's got you. He's got you. But when He comes is when you're attending a lecture like this, all of a sudden the phone goes, bzzz, right? All of a sudden you sit down and recite the Quran. Yes, that bill that I had to pay. Oh man, I needed to submit that project that was due. That's coming up. All of a sudden your entire laundry list comes in front of you. Right? Because shaitan is sitting for you on this straight path. He comes and bothers you when you're trying to do something good. So Salah is our primary defense against shaitan. Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us in the Quran, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ, and establish the Salah. إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ, because Salah prohibits you from things that are indecent, that are inappropriate, that are wrong. The time of Rasulullah, there was a man who came complaining to him about another man. He said, Ya Rasulullah, there's this person, this guy, he prays at night, and then he steals in the morning. He cheats and steals in the morning. Does that conversation sound familiar? I'm sure it does. You talk about it in the masjid parking lot, you talk about it. That brother, man, he comes to the Salah all the time, he's got this big beard. Oh, you do business with him, man, does he cheat. Oh, you see that brother, he recites the Quran and stuff, but you go outside on the basketball court and he is cursing away. We feel that sometimes. Man, what kind of a person is this who is in the masjid all the time, but he's doing all this stuff outside of the masjid? Similar stuff, this man, he would pray at night, he would steal during the day, cheat during the day. You know what the Rasulullah told him? He said, إِنَّهُ سَيَنْهَاهُ مَا تَقُولُ. He said, whatever you're telling, whatever you're saying about the stuff that he does, his Salah will ultimately stop him from doing those things. His Salah will ultimately stop him from doing those things. So my beloved brothers, my respected sisters, of the takeaways from this evening, you might be struggling with things, whatever they may be. And I'm sure each and every one of us struggles with certain things. Whatever that may be, just please don't give up on the Salah. Just don't give up on the Salah. Just always stick to the Salah. Because ultimately, the Salah will stop you from doing whatever you're doing. So this evening, brothers and sisters, we're going to talk about what we call as the heart part of the Salah, which is almost often the hard part of the Salah also, which is to maintain that khushu' in the Salah, to maintain that sense of humbleness, humility, a sense of fear, a sense of awe in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I know when we start talking about the salah, the first set of questions that come to our mind, okay, so where do I put my hand? Do I put them here? 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 Do I move my finger this way or that way or no way or this way? I don't think it's this way. But which way and where do I see? Is it at the bottom, right, left, top, down? All these questions come to our mind, which are about the motions of the salah. But tonight we're not talking about the motions of the salah. We're talking about the emotions of the salah. Emotions that we should have in the salah. That's our focus tonight. The emotions that you should have in the salah. The mindset that you ought to have in the salah. And before we start with that kind of spiritual journey through the salah, I want to first caution you, especially because many of you all live here in the United States, many have grown up here. We're often used to, in this Western society, we're often used to doing things in a quick fashion. We want quick fix recipes. You know, you want to go look up a DIY video and you look at it and boom, you want to do it and you're done. You know, you get sick, you want to get the strongest antibiotics, you get it and you want to get well so that tomorrow you can just go back to work. You want to do things right away. You order something, you want it delivered, not even tomorrow anymore, like in 2 hours. We want things quick, but it ain't gonna work like that. Salah, the khushu' in the salah is not something that you just get overnight. It's not a light switch you turn on and off. It's a process. It's a process. It's a beautiful process. It's an absolutely sweet process, but it's a process. And depending on how much you put into that process in terms of your mindset, that's how sweet you will feel in the salah. That's how much sweetness you will get out of the salah. That's how much benefit you get out of the salah. And we will show you, inshallah, as we talk about this, that this salah has an impact on your daily life. Whether it's at work, whether it's at home, whether it's in school, whether it's in the community, in the masjid, wherever you are, salah has an impact, a direct impact. So, a couple of quick points. I've spent too much time on this. Understand, remember what Allah Azza wa Jal, when He talks about the qualities of those people in the salah who will enter the highest levels of Jannah, al-Firdaus. The very first and the very last quality that Allah mentions, both have something to do with the salah. He said, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Verily, the believers will succeed or have succeeded. And then he mentions the qualities of those believers. What's the first quality? Those are the people who are khashi'un in their salah. They're humble, they're submissive, they have humility in the salah. That's the first quality. And then he goes on and talks about other qualities. And the very last quality again is about the salah. They preserve. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَىٰ صَلَوَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. They're ones who preserve, who safeguard their salah. These are the ones who will inherit. Inherit what? Inherit the Firdaus, the highest levels of Jannah. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, scary. Ask yourself, consider for yourself, take a look at yourself, where do you stand in this? He said, a person may pray and they leave their salah, and all that which is written for them from their salah is 1/9 or 1/8 or 1/7 or 1/6 or 1/5 or 1/4 or 1/3, and he stopped at nisfuha. All that is written for the salah is just half, or 1/10, or 1/8, depending on how much mind they put in the salah. How concerned that they were about their salah. Scary stuff. That's something we should consider ourselves. Where do I fall in this category? Imam al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he gave the analogy of the heart and the remembrance that comes from Allah Azza wa Jal. Of course, a lot of it comes in the salah. He gave the example of the heart like the earth on which Allah sends rain. That is the remembrance of Allah. And he said that The heart that is soft, that is ready to receive that rain. It receives the rain and good fruit comes out of that heart. And another place he gave the example of the heart as a tree. That the example of the heart is like a tree. The tree, the one that accepts water, that soaks up the water, its trees are, because they have water running through them, the branches and the stems and so on, its branches are soft. You can move them however you want. But a tree that does not receive the water, meaning a heart that is not affected by the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal, what happens to that tree? Have you tried to look at a tree that is absolutely dry? When you try to move its stems, what happens? They don't move. You can't move them. And if you try too hard, what happens? They break. They can't do it. And the idea is that the heart that receives the remembrance of Allah and accepts the remembrance of Allah and internalizes the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal, it becomes easier for the body parts, the stems and the branches, to carry out other good deeds. It becomes easy to recite the Quran. It becomes easy to pray the Qiyam. It becomes easy to volunteer for the sake of Allah. It becomes easy. Whereas the heart that doesn't receive the remembrance of Allah is barren. All the other things become hard. Memorizing the Quran, oh man, that's hard. Learning Arabic language, I can't do it. That's too hard. That's not for me. Giving da'wah to others, oh man, I can't do it. It becomes hard. Because the heart is not accepting the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, brothers and sisters, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us in the hadith. This is absolutely beautiful. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَكُمْ بِالصَّلَاةِ Allah Azza wa Jalla commanded you for the salah. فَإِذَا صَلَّيْتُمْ فَلَا تَلْتَفِتُوا. So when you pray, then don't look around, don't look here and there. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns His face subhanahu wa ta'ala toward the face of His toward the face of His slave servant. في صلاته ما لم يلتفت. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns His face subhanahu wa ta'ala toward you, me, when you are praying, as long as you're not looking around here and there, as long as you are focused in the salah. Just think about this, brothers and sisters. When you're having a conversation, when you're praying, you're having a private conversation with Allah. And again, I give this analogy here, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, to Allah belong the best of the examples and the most high of the examples. I share these analogies so that it drives the point home. Just imagine that you are walking into the office of a CEO. You're walking into the office of your dean in your school. And you want really something important from them. You have an issue in one of the courses and you really want to go and talk to them about it. And you enter their office, you come to them and they look at you and say, yes, how can I help you? And you start talking. Yeah, you start looking at your phone right at that time because you have a WhatsApp message. Or you start looking around and looking at how the office is, how the shelves are. And they're sitting there waiting for you. They're talking to you. You need them, they don't need you. You would never do that. What would you do? You would go and immediately start talking in the best possible way so that you can get what you want to get out of them. Yes? To Allah belong the most kind examples. When we go in the salah, we need Allah who is as-samad, who is the one who is not in any need of any one of us, but we need Him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with His mercy, with His greatness, He turns His face toward us. How can we then rush in the salah? How can we then be focused on things other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the salah? The Rasul, he would tell Bilal, Ya Bilal, aqim as-salah, arihna biha, O Bilal, establish the salah and relieve us and relieve us, make us feel comfortable, make us feel relaxed. You know, one time, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she was with the Rasul in the middle of the night, and the Rasul he told her, Ya Aisha, let me just spend some night worshipping my Rabb. She said, Wallahi inni uhibbu qurban wa uhibbu ma yasurruk. He said, Oh ya Rasulullah, Wallahi, I love to be close to you, and I also love what you like, what makes you happy. So she said he stood up and he started to pray. And she said he was praying and he was crying until his beard was filled with tears. And then he kept reading and reading, and he kept crying until the earth around him was filled with tears. And she said at that time, she said, Ya Rasulullah, تبكي وقد غفر الله لك ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر. Said, Ya Rasulullah, you are crying where Allah has forgiven all your previous and future sins. And that's when Rasulullah made his famous statement, should I not be a thankful slave servant? Umar, it is said that one time he was leading the Salah, and he came to this ayah where Allah Azza wa Jalla says about Yusuf, where he says, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. Verily, I only complain about my weakness and my sorrow and my grief to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he started to cry so much that his crying could be heard from the back of the masjid. And mind you, brothers and sisters, those days at Fajr time, the masjid would be filled. It wasn't like a 1 or 2 row masjid. It was filled until the end. And at that time, there were no mics, so that if somebody is just reciting and crying, that you could hear from the back. No, people could hear him from the back crying. This was the impact of the Salah on our pious predecessors. So brothers and sisters, let's start this process. And this process of attaining khushu' in the Salah starts well before we get to the Salah. It starts from the time, actually even before, when we are making wudu. Like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told us in a hadith, and there are multiple narrations of this hadith. But he said, whoever makes a wudu and he washes his face, or she washes her face, the sins fall off of his face. Even they fall off from his beard with water as they're making wudu. And when the person is washing their hands, the sins fall off of their hands. The sins that they have committed with their hands fall off or wiped away. And then when the person washes his feet or her feet, the sins that they committed with their feet get washed away. So brothers and sisters, an action item for all of us, the next time when we are making wudu, let's make the wudu with our hearts and not just with our body parts. As you are, the next time, even for Isha tonight, when you go to make wudu, try not to be talking to the person next to you making wudu, but try to be reflective. As you are washing, as you are rinsing your mouth, think of what you have said today. Think of the stuff that you said yesterday to other people. Stuff that you may have said that may have been displeasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and hope and pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is washing away your sins. As you are washing your face, think about the stuff that you looked at today and yesterday or in your life. All those times when you're looking at the opposite gender in a way you were staring them right in their face, not that first and inadvertent look, but that stare right in their face that you knew you were not supposed to do, but you did anyway. That time when you were online and you were watching stuff online because you thought nobody else was watching. Think about those times where you were saying that, I'm just watching, a game, but then you enjoyed the ads in between as well. And you kept doing it, and you say, I'll watch it. When the ads come out, I'll just move away. But you and I both know we don't. Think of all those times when you looked at stuff that you're not supposed to look at. People who are here who are students, and this is a problem in the US and all over the world. That time when you were online because of COVID, or even you were not online, you were in school, but you cheated on an exam. And you looked at someone else's work and you plagiarized or you cheated. Those are things you use your eyes. So as you're making wudu, think about all those and understand that these sins that the Rasul is talking about, these are the minor sins, by the way. For those major sins, you still have to ask Allah for forgiveness and do tawbah. But whatever you did with your eyes, those are washing off. The next time when you are washing your hands for the wudu, think of all those times where you did stuff with your hands, when you sent that chat message, when you typed that WhatsApp message, when you put that Snapchat up, or that Instagram post, or that Twitter post that you really shouldn't have. But you did anyway, using your hands. Reflect as you're washing and hope and anticipate from Allah Azza wa Jal that perhaps those sins will get wiped away. The next time when you're washing your feet, think of the times when you walked to places where you didn't have to walk to, or you shouldn't have walked to, or that you used your feet to kick somebody or to trip somebody, or that you used your feet, forgive me for saying this, brothers and sisters, to drive in a way that was dangerous for you and for those around you on the street. You thought that was cool, that you can drive that dangerously. But it wasn't cool in front of Allah, because you put yourself and those around you in danger. And that's not cool. So the next time when you're washing your feet, think of those things. And as you are thinking of those things actively, reflectively, all the time, and every wudu you make, your khushu' will improve, inshallah. Your khushu' will improve, inshallah. So now you've made wudu. And as you're making wudu, you've thought about all of your shortcomings, all of the sins that you did from your face, from your eyes, from your tongue, from your hands, from your feet. And you hope and anticipate from Allah that He will forgive you for all those sins. At the end of your wudu, you make this dua. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. I bear witness that there is no one who deserves to be worshipped except Allah. He is one alone. He has no partners. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His slave servant and His messenger. Allahumma ja'alni min at-tawwabin. وَاجْعَلْنِي مِنَ الْمُتَطَهِّرِينَ. Oh Allah, make me of those people who return to you, who make tawbah to you, and make me of those people who are pure, who are clean. And as you are saying this, and as you say this, and you say this not with your tongue, but you say this with your heart, really asking Allah to make you of those who make those frequent U-turns to Allah. Tawbah. Really asking Allah to make you of those people who are pure. You feel about these glad tidings from the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فتحت له ثمانية أبواب الجنة يدخل من أيها شاء. The 8 gates of Jannah are open for him. He may enter from whichever gate he may choose. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. You see, you feel the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's wudu. You make wudu with your heart. Then comes your other physical preparations. You dress appropriately. Allah Azza wa Jalla teaches us in the Quran, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. Take your adornment to your places of sajda, to your masjid. And so that means that you exude some effort that when you are going in front of Allah Azza wa Jalla, yes, you don't have to go every single time and iron a new soap and wear new clothes. No, but at least you wear something clean. You don't just roll out of bed in your undershirt and your PJs and you say Allahu Akbar. That's not haram, by the way. Something wrong per se in and of itself. But again, if you want to have that sweetness in the salah, if you really want to take that time to focus on Allah Azza wa Jal, you've got to do these things. Think about this, brothers and sisters. Again, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. To Allah belong the best of the examples. What happens when you are getting ready for your first job interview? What do? You take some time, you go get yourself a nice suit. You might wear, the proper tie. You might, you look at yourself, you spend some time, depending on how long you spend. Some people spend 15, 20 minutes, some people an hour to get ready for that interview. because you need the job. You spend some time, think about what happens at weddings, or even more. People spend a lot of time preparing, physically looking good. Let's give the best to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, I repeat, brothers and sisters, it's not haram if you get up and you're wearing your home clothing, but it's nothing wrong in and of itself. But again, the more mind you put into it, the more thought that goes through in your mind to prepare for the salah, the better prepared you will be for the salah, the more khushu' you will have using the siwak. Another one of those things that Rasulullah said that لولا أن أشق على أمتي أو على الناس لأمرتهم بالسواك مع كل صلاة وكما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. If I had not thought that it would be hard on my ummah, I would have asked them to use the siwak for every single salah. So brushing your teeth before you pray. Remember Rasulullah, he told us in a hadith that when a person stands up for the salah, an angel comes behind that person and listens to that person as the person is reciting. And as a person keeps reciting, the angel, the word that the Rasulullah used in the hadith is yadnu wa yadnu wa yadnu. That he comes nearer and nearer and nearer until the angel comes and puts their mouth in front of the mouth of the person who is reciting the Quran. You're going to be in the company of angels when you're about to prepare for your salah. So it deserves our attention. This extra steps that we take, again, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will help you improve your khushu' in the salah. And of course, if you're praying in the masjid, when you come in the masjid, you'd make dua between the adhan and the iqamah. That's one of the times where the dua is very likely to be accepted. La yurad, it is not rejected. So you make dua between the adhan and the iqamah. Now you've gone through these steps, you've gone through this process, now you're ready to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at this time, as you're ready, let the heart do the talking. Let the heart do the talk. Yes, this doesn't mean that we don't say anything out of our tongue. Yes, we do, but it's understand that it's got to be the tongue along with the heart. Because you are standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, and you are about to engage in a very private and intimate conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna ahadakum idha qama yusalli innama yunadi rabbah. Verily, one of you, when you stand up for the salah, you are having a very private conversation with your Rabb. فَلْيَنْظُرْ كَيْفَ يُنَادِي. Let one of you see for yourself, how do you carry that conversation? How do you carry that intimate conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And my brothers and sisters, and I know this happens. As soon as we start the salah, all the ideas come to your mind, all the bills come to your mind. You remember that time that Rasulullah told us in a hadith Qudsi, that Allah Azza wa Jalla says, يَبْنَ ابْنَ آدَمْ تَفَرَّغْ لِعِبَادَتِي أَمْلَأْ صَدْرَكَ غِنًى وَأَسُدَّ فَقْرَكَ. O son of Adam, you devote yourself to my worship. Look, you focus on my worship. I will fill your heart with content. I will fill your heart with richness. The money and the fame and the degrees and the status that you are chasing, that you keep thinking about in the salah, I'll take care of that for you. The problems that you are facing in your life that consume you during your salah, I'll take care of that for you. The job that you're trying to pursue or the investment that you're hoping will grow so that you can become rich, I will take care of your poverty. And if you don't, then I will fill your heart with busy stuff. SubhanAllah, brothers and sisters, it is scary when you listen to these hadith and you look at our current situation. What do people say? What's the most common excuse people make when you tell them about anything? I am busy. I'm so busy. I'm so swamped. I have no time at all. I'm so busy. You wonder for yourself, are you really? Are you? Or is it that Allah, we ask Allah to protect us from being with those people? Or is it that Allah Azza wa Jal has filled your heart with this busy stuff? وَلَمْ أَسُدَّ فَقْرَ, but I will not take care of your poverty. So you're standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, having a private conversation. And as you start the salah, there's one statement, brothers and sisters, that you repeat the most in the salah. That's the one statement that you repeat the most in your entire day. What is that statement? They said, "Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim." You say that if you were to just pray your salah, you will say that 17 times. But there's one more statement that you say even more. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. If you just pray your fard salah, you say that statement anywhere between 90 and 100 times. This is not including any of your sunan or the witr or any of the nawafil. None of that. If you just pray your fard, you say that statement more than 90 times. You think it's a coincidence that Allah Azza wa Jalla prescribed for us to say this statement more than 90 times in the day? There's no other statement that you are required to say this many times in the day. There's no other statement. All the others, it's sunnah. It's sunnah to say subhanallah, it's sunnah to say alhamdulillah, it is sunnah to say astaghfirullah. But this is, you have to say the statement in the salah you're praying. That's to remind us. Whatever is distracting you in the salah, Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater than that. Whatever consumes you in the salah, whatever distracts you, whatever thoughts that you're having in the salah, Allah is akbar than all of those. So, my brother, my sister, and again, you can categorize yourself. Where do you fall? What are your thoughts in the salah? What consumes you in the salah? That's something you figure out for yourself. But one of the things that many of us we may be thinking about in the salah is, how am I going to make money? I've got bills to pay. I've got children to, who have to go to school. I've got, a job that I have to get. If I can graduate from college, I got to get a job. My job is not going so well. I got to get a different job. I got to prepare for this interview, that interview. I have this business and that business. We're thinking about all of those things in the salah, but we forget that Allah Azza wa Jal, all of this is part of the rizq of Allah, and Allahu Akbar. Allah is Al-Razzaq. He is the one who tells us, وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا. That there is not a single creature on the face of this earth except that its rizq is upon Allah Azza wa Jal. Your Rabb, Allahu Akbar, is the one who told us, يَا عِبَادِي لَوْ أَنَّ أَوَّلَكُمْ وَآخِرَكُمْ وَإِنسَكُمْ وَجِنَّكُمْ قاموا في صعيد واحد فسألوني فأعطيت كل واحد مسألته ما نقص ذلك مما عندي إلا كما ينقص المخيط إذا أدخل البحر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. Oh my slave servants, if the first ones of you and the last ones of you and the humans of you and the jinn of you, you are all to stand in one playing field, and all of you asked me for all that you want, and I gave everybody all what they wanted. Think about this. You were to stand and sit through and go through all that you want in your life. Everything. You made a list of every single thing in your life. And not just you, every human being and jinn who has come from the time of Adam until the day of judgment. Everybody asked what they wanted, and Allah gave them everybody what they wanted. It doesn't diminish from the kingdom of Allah or what Allah has, except that when a needle takes away from an ocean if you dip it in it. Just think about this. You take one of those needles, sisters, if you have your hijab pins, look at your hijab pin and dip it in water. Just a glass of water, pull it out. And you wonder how much did it take from the water. And now think about if you have an ocean and you dip that pin in the ocean, you pull out, that's how much it will diminish from what Allah has. Allahu Akbar. They say this story about, funny story. The Imam was leading the Salah, and the Imam said the Salam. People are all wondering. They were like, "Did he pray 3 or 4?" Nobody was sure. Like, did you pray 3 or 4 rak'ahs? And after that, people are discussing, and then one guy goes, "Sheikh, I know you prayed 3." Everybody looked at her. How do you know that I prayed 3? Like, how are you so sure? Everybody's confused. How are you so sure? The guy said, "Well, I have 4 gas stations. I think about one in each rak'ah. I was only in my 3rd one, and get to the 4th. You've only prayed 3. You don't want to be in that situation, right? Allahu Akbar. Allah Azza wa Jal is Al-Razaq. He is the one who provides. He is greater than the issues, the worries that you have. My brother, my sister who feels lonely, who feels that nobody loves them, who feels anxiety, who feels depression, who feel that they are all by themselves. Remember, recognize that Allah Azza wa Jal is Al-Wadud. He is very intensely loving. Remember the time when Rasulullah, it was a Sahaba, and there was a lady who had lost her little baby. And she was looking around frantically looking for that baby. And when she found the baby, she hugged the baby. And at that time, Rasulullah asked the people around her, أَتَرَوْنَهَا طَارِحَةً وَلَدَهَا فِي النَّارِ. Do you all think that this lady will throw her child into the fire? And they said, "No, Ya Rasulullah, of course she wouldn't." And he said, "Allahu arhamu bi'ibadihi min hadihi waladiha." But Allah Azza wa Jal, for sure, He is more loving, more merciful toward His slave servants than this lady is toward her baby. SubhanAllah. So the next time when you feel, and you are in the Salah and you feel you're all by yourself, nobody loves you, nobody takes care of you, nobody wants to be with you, you're all lonely, you're all by yourself, understand Allahu Akbar. Allah Azza wa Jal is the greatest. He is Al-Wadud. He loves you more than your own mother. He loves you more than your father. And that's why one of the pious predecessors, they would say, if I had a choice on the day of judgment as to who would take my account, whether it would be my parents or Allah, I would pick Allah. Because He's more merciful than my parents. Some of us, we may go through the Salah and we're stressed. We're stressed about whatever that may be the case at our workplace or in our studies in school and so on. And we wonder that, man, why am I going to get this help from Allah Azza wa Jal? We feel stuck. We feel stuck. At that time, remember Allah Azza wa Jal, Allahu Akbar. Allah is the greatest. He is Al-Nasir, Al-Wakil. He's the one who helps. He's the one who is the best disposer of affairs. Remember the time of Rasulullah and the other messengers. Allah Azza wa Jal portrays the situation for them that they were so shaken. They were so shaken. They were afflicted with poverty, with disease, with all kinds of problems, and they were shaken to the core, to the point when the Prophet and those around him, they said, "What? Mata Nasrullah? When is the victory of Allah? Ala inna Nasrallahi qareeb. Verily, the victory of Allah is very near." Whatever your issues might be, beloved brothers, respected sisters, Allahu Akbar. Allah is greater than those issues. When you're praying your Salah and if those thoughts consume you, that's coming to your mind, just remember Allahu Akbar. And you'll repeat that statement as long as you repeat it with your heart. Remember that for Allah Azza wa Jal, no matter what your problems are, for Him Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, it is a matter of 2 letters. Kun fayakun, be and it will be. Whatever your problems are, for Allah Azza wa Jal, it's a matter of 2 letters. You are stressed out about marriage. You can't find a wife. You can't find a husband. And you are like, man, all these people are getting married. You're worried. Allahu Akbar. Allah Azza wa Jal is great. He will take care of it for you. You focus on Him. You trust in Him. You aggrandize Him, not through your words, but in your life, through your actions, not just through your words, but through your actions and in your hearts. And when you put your trust in Allah, وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Whoever puts their trust in Allah, then Allah is sufficient for them. So don't let the salah be the time that you're going through. And understand, brothers and sisters, and we all know this. Shaitan will come and tell you the brightest of the solutions, the most complex of your problems. Shaitan will tell you the brightest of solutions to the most complex of your problems. I remember there was the Muslims at school, when I was going to school, were doing computer science. Anybody computer science here? Computer scientists or aspiring computer scientists? And it would sound funny at the time, but it's not funny. But they would say that, man, I was doing this code, this programming, and the thing would just not run. The program, the software would not run. And I started to pray, and in the salah, I remembered, oh man, I missed that semicolon that I had to add, and bam, I added that and it worked. SubhanAllah. Shaitan will give you the brightest and best of the solutions, the most complex of your problems during the salah. That's the straight path. That's where he sits and awaits you in the salah. So you repeat this statement over and over, Allahu Akbar, Allah is the greatest. Remember at that time, the beautiful names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you find yourself that you have done so much, you've done so much wrong. And you constantly feel that, man, I'm no good. You pray the salah and you're like, man, I don't know if Allah will accept. I've done everything that's in the book. I've done every sin in the book. Remember at that time, Allah Azza wa Jal is Akbar. Allah is the greatest. He is Al-Ghafoor. He is Al-Afu. He is all forgiving. He is all pardoning. He doesn't just forgive, but He wipes your slate clean. Al-Afu. Al-Afu. He responded to Shaitan when Shaitan in his audacity, he told him, La وَعِزَّتِكَ يَا رَبِّ لا أبرح أغوي عبادك ما دامت أرواحهم في أجسادهم. He said, by your majesty, Ya Rabb, I will keep misguiding your slave servants as long as your souls are on their bodies. And then comes a response from Allah Azza wa Jal, Al-Ghafoor, Al-Afu, the one who is all forgiving. He said, وَعِزَّتِي وَجَلَالِي لَا أَزَالُ أَغْفِرَ لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَغْفَرُونِ. And by my majesty and by my honor, I will keep forgiving them so long as they keep asking for forgiveness. When you are in the salah and you're thinking, man, I don't know if it'll be accepted. I've done so much wrong. I just messed up so bad. Understand, Allah is Akbar. He is Al-Ghafoor. He is Al-Afu. You feel insecure, whether it is at your job or whether it is outside. My sisters who wear the hijab, and you sometimes you feel insecure that somebody might harass you, might attack you. My brothers who are at their workplace and they worry that people will look at them funny and they will harass them, they'll make fun of them. Understand, Allah is Akbar. Allah is Al-Hafiz. He is the one who protects. He protects you. My brothers, my sisters who are confused, who feel lost about whatever they have to take care of in their life, they can't figure out how to balance their life. Allah Azza wa Jal is Al-Hadi. He is the one who guides. So brothers and sisters, you remember this phrase, which is the most oft repeated phrase in the salah. Now you started the salah, you're going in front of Allah Azza wa Jal. The first statement that you make in the salah is a statement about what Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Inna ahabba al-kalami ila Allah. Verily the most beloved of speech to Allah is when you say, Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, wa tabarak asmuk, wa ta'ala jadduk, wa la ilaha ghayruk. Try saying this with a heart. Oh Allah, how perfect you are. You're clean of any imperfections. And I praise you. وَتَبَارَكَ اسْمُكَ, and your name is so blessed. وَتَعَالَى جَدُّكَ, and your position is so high. You're about to ask of the King of the Kings. You're about to ask of the one who owns the entire universe. You got to start off by feeling the sense of awe about whom you're standing in front of. and you say, Subhanallah, how perfect you are, O Allah. And brothers and sisters, if you say the statement with your heart, if you really internalize the statement, which is the most beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal, you will find the rest of the salah. You'll find khushu' in your salah. Because now you're about to stand in front of, or you stood in front of Allah, you're about to ask Him for whatever you need. And another tip we should do, we should follow what we're praying, is that we should say different du'as at the beginning of the salah that the Rasul taught us. Most of us, we know this du'a, Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, wa tabarak ismuk, wa ta'ala jadduk, wa la ilaha ghayruk. We keep saying this over and over until it becomes just lip service. Until it becomes something that you just say robotically without really paying mind to it. There are many du'as that the Rasul taught us. Here's a beautiful dua. We wouldn't read the entire dua, but وَجَّهْتُ وَجْهِيَ لِلَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ حَنِيفًا وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. That I have turned my face sincerely toward the one who has brought forth the heavens and the earth. I am not among those who are the mushrikeen. But if you notice that if you memorize this dua, you look at this dua, it is absolutely beautiful. And if you change up that you say Subhanallah wa bihamdik sometimes, and then sometimes you add this, and there are other du'as, if you keep changing, all of these du'as are from the Sunnah, if you keep changing, it will help you increase your khushu' in the salah. If you look at the rest of this du'a, it is absolutely so comprehensive. Starting off with, again, that sense of sincerity. I turn my face toward Allah. And then he goes on and he says, Ya Allah, you are the king. And then you go on and say, Ya Allah, I realize that for my shortcomings, my mistakes, I've done a lot of wrong, and I accept and I admit my wrongdoings, Ya Allah. Can you see? Can you imagine the sense of khushu', the sense of humbleness? Ya Allah, I've done wrong. I've messed up, and I've messed up bad. And Ya Allah, nobody can forgive me except you. So please forgive me. And not only that, Ya Allah, I messed up so bad, so please help me not mess up again. وَهْدِنِي لِأَحْسَنِ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Oh Allah, guide me to the best of character. SubhanAllah. Beautiful dua. Beautiful dua. Let's change it up. Memorize more of these du'as. So as we go in the salah, we can say different du'as, and that helps you in the khushu'. Now, if you've made it this far, if you made your wudu so well, if you came and you internalized Allahu Akbar, you said Allahu Akbar with your heart, you started off by glorifying Allah, you think Shaitan is sitting back and chilling? Absolutely not. He comes, and he keeps coming. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he tells us in the hadith that when the adhan is called, Shaitan turns and runs away. And then when it's done, he comes back. Until when the iqamah is called, and then he comes back. And then when the iqamah is called, he runs away, and then he comes back. And he comes back حتى يخطر بين المرء ونفسه. And then he whispers in a person's own self. SubhanAllah, brothers and sisters, you listen to this hadith, and just listening to the hadith, you say this came from Allah Azza wa Jalla, who has created us. Meaning this was wahi that came to us in the tongue of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it's so true. So what does Shaitan say? The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us, he says, remember this, remember that, remember this problem, remember that opportunity, remember this problem, remember this issue. And yes, sometimes he'll give you good information or good whispers about, remember, for the MSA event you have, these are all the things you have to do, good stuff. Remember that you have a lesson event, or remember what time is what lecture. It's reminding you of all, because he wants to take you away from that about things don't you really remember before. And another hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, فَهَنَّاهُ وَمَنَّاهُ, and he reminds them of the pleasant things and the things that he wished for. Whatever you find pleasing in your life, he'll remind you of that. If you find it pleasing to watch football, he'll remind you of all the Washington, what's it called? Washington football team? Did you the name? What's the new name? Washington team. He'll remind you of all the time the Washington team won, which was never, but anyways, sorry. It reminds you of all the time as to what happened, things that you enjoyed. And he reminds you of all of those things and things that you really wish for. You wish they made it to the playoffs. Didn't happen. But he reminds you of all those things. And then he said, حتى يظل الرجل لا يدري كم صلى, until the person gets to the point where he doesn't remember how many rak'ahs he prayed. It is so true. And so at that time, when he said all of this, as one of our past predecessors would say, that if a dog barks at you, try not to just fight with the dog, but ask for the one who is the ra'i, who is the owner of the dog. He will take the dog away from you. Meaning, at that time, you ask Allah's protection. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. You don't have to answer this. But let's ask ourselves, between ourselves and Allah, when was the last time that you said أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم in the salah with a heart? When was the last time that you genuinely, desperately, feeling that absolute and dire sense of need for Allah, said, I ask Allah for protection from the shaitan who is cursed. Because, let's face it, let's be honest, we need Allah. We need Allah in our fight against shaitan. Can you and I fight shaitan ourselves? No, we can't. We need وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا, and man was created weak. We need Allah's support and Allah's help, and Allah Azza wa Jal knew that we will need His help, and that's why He told us 1400 years ago, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. So when you recite the Quran, then ask Allah's protection from the cursed devils. Brothers and sisters, try the next time when you recite the Quran, just try. Try saying the isti'adah with your heart. Try saying the isti'adah, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, with that sense of dire need for Allah. You will see a difference in your recitation. You will see a difference in your salah. And if you keep doing it all the time, every salah you program yourself to say this with the heart, you will see an improvement in your salah. And now you're starting to recite Al-Fatiha, which is the greatest surah of the Quran. A surah about which Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that it's like having a conversation with Allah, where every time you say something, an ayah, Allah responds. So you say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, all praises due up to Allah, the one who is the Rabb of all the world. Allah responds and He says, Hamidani Abdi, my slave servant has praised me. And as you say, Rabbil Alameen, Rabb, you remember that the word Rabb includes so many meanings. It includes that He is the creator. It includes that He is the sustainer. It includes that He is the one who is in control. He is Al-Khaliq, the creator. Al-Raziq, the one who provides. The Al-Mudabbir, the one who sustains, who takes care of affairs. So yes, even at that time when you were saying it and you were thinking about something else, a problem, a challenge, a wish, you remember that Allah is the Rabb, the Alameen. Allah is the Rabb, everything. And you say with that appreciation for Allah, you say, Alhamdulillah, all praise are due to Allah. who is the Rabb of the world. Brothers and sisters, one of our scholars used to say, our ability to praise Allah in and of itself is a blessing for which we should praise Allah. So your ability to say Alhamdulillah the next time when you find it in your heart that you are able to thank Allah with your heart, not just a statement that we often say, how are you? Alhamdulillah. How do you? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. We just say it, which is good, which is okay. But the next time when you are able to say this statement with a deep sense of appreciation for Allah, you are thanking Allah, you're praising Him with a sense of love and awe for Him. If you are able to do that, then thank Allah for that. Say Alhamdulillah that I was able to say Alhamdulillah so well. Because that in and of itself is a blessing. And then you go on and you say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. The most beneficent, the most merciful, who allowed you to stand in front of Him. Who, if you said what you said the way you said, if it was good, it was from His mercy that you were able to say that's something good. The one about whom Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that His mercy has 100 parts and He has sent only one part of His mercy in this life. And He has saved 99 parts of His mercy for the day of judgment. You think about Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, about whom Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that if a disbeliever knew what Allah has in store of His mercy, if a disbeliever knew of the mercy of Allah, even a disbeliever would not lose hope in Jannah. Even a disbeliever would hope for Jannah. SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. You think about Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the one who said, my mercy has preceded my anger. Brothers and sisters, you remember that the naysayers around you, some of them, they say that the Lord of Islam, the God of Islam, is such a mean God. And they portray Allah as if He's this mean being. And you wonder, you think to yourself that Allah Azza wa Jal at the beginning of the Quran, when He mentioned His name, Allah Ismul Jalala, and after that comes an introduction to Allah Azza wa Jal, it comes with Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, the one who is most beneficent, the one who is most merciful. Yes, He has a word that shows His power. He has a name, Al-Qahhar. He is very overpowering, shows His power. He doesn't have a name called Al-Qadir. He doesn't have Al-Qahhar and Al-Qadir. No, this is one name. When it comes to mercy, the one that He introduces Himself with, it is Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. He's very merciful. You do one good deed, He gives you 10, or 70, or 700, or more, depending on how sincere you are. You recite the Quran, and for every letter, He gives you one good deed multiplied by 10 good deeds. You just say Alif Lam Mim, that's 30 good deeds. You do a bad deed, He only gives you one, and even that He wipes away if you ask for forgiveness. That's your Allah, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. You go and visit somebody, and He makes 70,000 angels make dua for you until the morning if you go visit somebody sick in the evening. You visit a sick person in the morning, He makes 70,000 angels make dua for you until the evening. That's your Allah, Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. How can we lose hope in the mercy of Allah? And at the same time, as a believer, you remember that He is the master of the day of judgment. And yes, as believers, we always maintain our attitude in front of Allah Azza wa Jal between these two states, between hope in the mercy of Allah and fear from His punishment, fear from the day of judgment. We remember we're going to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers and sisters, it is these two feelings that When people went to extremes in these two feelings, that's where they went astray. Without going into detail, those people who said, "Oh, I'm so merciful, oh, I'm so merciful, he'll forgive you, forgive you, don't have to do anything as long as you're good in your heart. You know, you just have a good heart, you feel good. Oh, I'm merciful, Allah Kareem, be okay." They went astray because they just kept focusing on the mercy of Allah. And on the other hand, those people who are so fearful, who are so afraid of the punishment of Allah, you do a sin, they say, "Oh, you're out of Islam. Oh, you're doing a bid'ah." What we call as the bid'ah busters. Anything you do, oh, you're no good. And that's from shaitan. Because you see, either which way, shaitan encourages you to what? Inaction. He wants you to hope in the mercy of Allah so much that you don't do enough things. You say, "Oh, Allah knows in my heart. If I pray, if I don't pray, Allah knows in my heart. Oh, brother, you know, I can't wear the hijab because, you know, we're in the 21st century. Allah knows my heart. Oh, brother, no, I don't have to grow a beard because, you know, they'll look at me funny. Allah knows what's in my heart." Those people, that leads to inaction. And those people who feel they're no good, they're always afraid. They say, "No matter what I do, it's not good enough. Allah's not going to accept it anyway." Inaction. Inaction. Shaitan whispers to lead you to inaction. And then you go on and you say, "Iyaka na'bud." Only you, O Allah, do I worship. And only you do we seek help from. A couple of things. If you understand Arabic, you look at this statement. In Arabic, if I say na'buduka, it means I worship you. But in Arabic, if you say iyaka na'bud, it adds more value to it. The value that it adds is only you I worship, and I don't worship anybody other than you. This meaning is included in these words. Iyaka na'bud. Allah, I only worship you and none other than you. And Allah, in order for me to worship you, oh Allah, I need your help. I can't do it without your help. I know I need to worship you, Ya Allah, but I can't do it without your help. And as such, only you and none other than you do I seek help from. Iyaka nasta'in. Only you, O Allah, do I worship, and only you do I seek help from. Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala told us that Allah Azza wa Jalla said all these books. And he consolidated the spirit, the gist of these books into the main book that he sent, including the Torah and the Injil and the Quran and so on. And then he took the meaning of all of these books and the gist of all of these books, he combined it, he consolidated it into the Quran. And then he took the gist of the entire Quran and he consolidated it into the last part of the Quran, starting from Surah Qaf until the end. And then he took the meaning of all of that and he consolidated it into Al-Fatiha. And he consolidated the meaning of the entire Al-Fatiha into this one ayah. Iyaka na'bud. Only you, O Allah, do we worship. And only you do we seek help from. So in your salah, brothers and sisters, as you're praying, when you say Iyaka na'bud, you remember to yourself that ibadah is not just salah and siyam and zakah and hajj and reading the Quran and so on. No, ibadah. There's many other forms of ibadah that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam warned us of, and we have to make sure that when we say Iyaka na'bud and we say with our heart, we mean by it all other forms of worship. So Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran, He tells us the person who takes their desires as their ilah. They worship their desires. Have you seen the one who takes their desires as their ilah? As the one that they worship. You ask yourself, when I say Iyaka na'bud, do I worship my desires? Do I worship things that I really feel like I want to have? Do I worship the dollar? The Rasul told us in a hadith, تعِسَ عَبْدُ الدِّينَارِ وَالدِّرْهَمِ. He said, may he be miserable, the one who is the abd of the dinar and the dirham, money. In our days, it'll be abdul dinar, the one who worships money. And mind you, brothers and sisters, there are many of us who worship money. Well, how? Well, when you do things to earn money that are displeasing to Allah just because you want to make more money, essentially you are worshiping the money over Allah. When somebody comes and tells you, brother, don't engage in interest, sister, don't take a job that involves interest, and you say, well, I gotta get a career, get a job. And you go and you get a job where you're serving alcohol or pork or these kind of things, and you say, oh, I have to earn money. You're essentially worshiping that money. You're essentially worshiping that money. You're essentially worshiping your own desires. So إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, to take that away. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, for Ibn Taymiyyah, that the heart can be afflicted by two big diseases, al-riyah, showing off, and al-kibr, arrogance. And he said, Surah Al-Fatiha and this ayah has a cure for both of these illnesses. Because when we say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, and if you mean it, you can't be showing off. And when you say إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ, only you do I seek help from, and you understand that you are not Mr. Right or Miss Right. You understand that you are not the macho man and the macho woman. Well, that exists. But you understand that Allah is the one who can help you and none other than Allah. It should give you the sense of humility, humbleness, sincerity towards Allah, humbleness towards Allah Azza wa Jal. And lastly, you finish Al-Fatiha by saying that dua, oh Allah, guide us to the straight path, the path of those people who you have blessed, and not the path of those people who have earned your anger or who have fallen straight. And very briefly, brothers and sisters, if I was to put this in a mathematical form, أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ are people who have knowledge and they act upon that knowledge. Knowledge plus action. الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ, may Allah protect us from being like those people, who are people who have the knowledge, but they're too cool to follow it. They're too cool to follow it. They're too arrogant to follow it. So they have the knowledge, but they don't act upon the knowledge. And al-Dhalin, the one who went astray, are people who do action minus knowledge. They act without knowledge. Brothers and sisters, your community here is one that promotes that knowledge. They're one that promotes that action into knowledge. So take advantage of this fact. And aspire to be like those people whom Allah has the one that has blessed, who have knowledge plus action. You go into ruku' and you remember the hadith from Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, where he said that when a person prays, all of the sins are brought forth and put on his head and on his shoulders. فَكُلَّمَا رَكَعَ أَوْ سَجَدَ تَسَاقَطَتْ عَنْهُ. Every time a person goes into ruku' and the sajda, his sins are fallen off. You remember that the ruku' is a position of humility. It's a position of instability. When you're in the ruku', if you think about it physically, you can easily fall. To show you that, look, in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, you are humble. You're nothing. You are nothing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you make sure that when you are praying, when you're in the ruku', that you complete your ruku'. That you are not, your ruku' is not one of those drive-through ruku's. You know what I'm talking about? The drive-through ruku's, where you go to the ruku' and you haven't even made it to the ruku' and you get up. And you haven't even gotten up completely, your back is not straight and you're in the center. The Rasul told us that the worst of the thieves The worst of the thieves are the ones who steal in the salah. And if they ask person, how do they steal in the salah? He said they don't complete the ruku' or the sujood. And in this state of instability, in this state, in a physical state where you're not strong and standing straight, at that state, you say, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. How perfect my Rabb is, the one who is so great. You acknowledge the perfection of Allah. You acknowledge your own weakness. You acknowledge your own instability. You acknowledge your need for Allah Azza wa Jal. You acknowledge that you are not even a speck in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You acknowledge you are making ruku' to the one about whom Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that I have been allowed to tell you about one of the angels of Allah Azza wa Jal who bears his throne. That one angel, the distance between the lobe of his ear and his shoulder is a journey of 700 years. That's one angel. Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. How perfect my Rabb is. The entire universe compared to the footrest, the footstool of Allah, the kursi of Allah is like a ring in the desert. And his kursi compared to his arsh, his throne, is like a ring in the desert. That's al-Azim that you're standing in front of. And then you stand up from the ruku', and you remember, and especially for my beloved brothers and respected sisters who get up from their ruku' and they go to the sajda very quickly. They haven't even stood up properly. Remember, this is scary, beloved brothers, respected sisters. But Rasul taught us, لا ينظر الله عز وجل إلى صلاة عبد لا يقيم صلبه بين ركوعها وسجودها. That Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't even look at the salah of a person who does not make his back straight in his ruku' and his sajda. What happened between the sajda? We sit up and we quickly go without even making our back straight. You remember at that time, and you say, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, because you're getting ready to go into sajda. And you say, oh, our Rabb, for you in all the praise. And you say this little addition, hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi, a lot of praise, a lot of good, mubarak, pure praise for Allah Azza wa Jal. And subhanAllah, you have more than 30 angels who rush to write what you just said. Just think about this one hadith as you are setting up a reward. You will never go into sajda that quickly because you want the 30 angels to write down what you just said. You don't just want to say, but I can quickly go into sajda, that drive through standing up or drive through sajda. It's too valuable for you to miss. 30 angels, 30 or more angels writing what you just said. And then you go into the sajda, which we call it an institute of sajda. The institute of sajda. There's just so much that you can learn from the sajda. You learn a sense of humility. You learn at the end of the day, that at the end, you have to submit. Your life story should be that you are a true Muslim who goes into sajda, who submits to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your life story is not that, yes, I hear sami'na. Your life story should be sami'na wa ata'na. We hear and we obey. Your life story cannot be and should not be sami'na wa tafakkarna wa tadabbarna wa ta'ammalna wa idha iqtana'na ata'na. It sounds funny for those who know Arabic, but this is the reality that we face many times. The attitude of people many times is not that we hear and we obey, but the attitude is we hear and then we think and we reflect and contemplate, and if it makes sense, then we obey. It's gotta make sense here. And that's not the attitude of the Muslim. The Sajda teaches us When you hear قال الله وقال الرسول, Allah said and His Rasul said, you immediately obey. End of story. End of discussion. Period. There's no discussions after that. There's no arguments, there's no excuses, there's no ifs and buts and whys and so no. It is about how you execute the command of Allah. This is that teaches you that sense of humility. And that's in that state where you are the closest to Allah, says the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when you put your forehead down on earth, you say, how perfect my Lord is, the one who is so high, the lofty. And you make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal, because that's one of the time that Rasul said, فَأَكْثِرُوا فِيهِ الدُّعَاءُ كَمَا قَالَ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ, that you make a lot of dua. You remember when you put your head on the earth, this is the earth where you came from. And this is the earth you're going to go back in. And this is the earth from which you're going to be resurrected. Think about this, brothers and sisters. You can, if these thoughts can be going through your mind as you're praying the Salah, the shul will be better, your focus will be better. The sitting, when you're sitting between the two sajdas, you remember that this is the position that people will be sitting on the day of judgment. People will be kneeling on the day of judgment. And they'll be called to their books. And they'll be given the reward for what they did. And again, this state, thinking about the day of judgment, you say, oh Allah, forgive me, I messed up. I messed up that. The last thing, you're sitting in the tashahhud, you acknowledge that all the good stuff comes from Allah, and all the good belongs to Allah. And you send His salah on His Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the one who sacrificed so much for you to be able to say La ilaha illallah today. You went through times of hunger and pain and poverty and distress so that you can say La ilaha illallah today. And so you send your salah with that ultimate sense of love and affection for Him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And you remember that when you do that, when you send a salah on Him, Allah Azza wa Jal increases your status, elevates your status by 10 degrees. And He forgives 10 of your sins. And at that time, at the end, again, in line with the sunnah of Rasulullah, that you glorified Allah, you send the salah of Allah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, then you make a dua. And a dua that the Rasulullah has taught us, one of them again taking us back to the sense that I made mistakes, Ya Allah, I'm not perfect. Allahumma inni zalamtu nafsi, oh Allah, I'm wrong myself. Allah. And nobody forgives sins except you, O Allah. And at the end, brothers and sisters, if you went through your entire salah like this, at the end of the salah, you acknowledge that I messed up. That I didn't do a good job. And that's why as soon as you say the salah, what's the first thing you say? Astaghfirullah. Ya Allah, my salah was not good enough. It was not good enough. You say, you ask Allah for forgiveness 3 times. And then you make dua to Allah, a dua that was taught Mu'adh to say after every salah. He said, don't ever leave saying this dua when he said, Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Again, remembering that you can't do it without the help of Allah. You need Allah's help. Oh Allah, help me to remember you, to thank you, and to worship you in the best possible way. We recite the Kursi, which again also taught us that whoever reads it after every salah, nothing will prevent him from entering Jannah except that. So brothers and sisters, in summary, and I'm sorry that I went through these last few slides rather quickly because of time. Establishing for sure is a process. It's a process. It doesn't come with a quick fix recipe. It's something that we have to put a remind to. It starts well before the salah, and if it does well, then the salah has an impact on our lives. It will be the first question that we get this right. If we get this right and allow it to have the impact that it should have, then all of our needs can be straight on the day of judgment. And lastly, brothers and sisters, the dua of Ibrahim, absolutely beautiful. dua. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي. Remember this dua, memorize this dua if you don't know it. Oh Allah, make me of those people who establish the salah. Not just pray it, but establish it. And from my offspring, I choose the Rabbana wa taqabbal dua. Oh Allah, and accept our dua. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He blesses us with the khushu' in the salah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives a sense of humility, that humbleness in front of Him. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accepts it from us. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
وبركاته. I wish we could let Sheikh Haroon continue. If this hour and a half is not enough justification for the topic and for even listening to him speak. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward him and to make this heavy on his scale of duties. Inshallah ta'ala, in terms of programming and scheduling, before I continue, inshallah ta'ala, Sheikh Jamal is going to bring just a small token of appreciation that we have for our beloved Sheikh, as well as for Sheikh Khan, who was supposed to join us. Many of you may have seen his name, picture on the flyer. Unfortunately, he was not feeling too well. So that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get him Sheikh. But for them, we just have a small token of appreciation for their time, for their efforts, for coming, joining us from College Park, alhamdulillah. So inshallah ta'ala, Sheikh Jamal will present that. In terms of the scheduling, inshallah, in just a few moments, we will request everyone to join us upstairs for a light dinner, inshallah. And following that, Salatul Isha will be at 7:30. So Salatul Isha will be prayed at 7:30, inshallah. Immediately after Salatul Isha, we will have a brief activity for the kids. Everyone will be here, inshallah, but the activity for the kids. Inshallah, you guys will have an opportunity to win some prizes, small prizes, just some goodie bags. One other note, as you guys make your way upstairs, inshallah ta'ala, when you go upstairs for food, you will see that there's a table of books. These books are all for free. These books, inshallah ta'ala, make an effort to please pick up the book that you would like to take home. Inshallah, on your way out, make a dua for those brothers who have and sisters who have donated these books. They are very beneficial of various topics, inshallah ta'ala. Please take one on your way out, inshallah ta'ala, and give a donation to the masjid on your behalf. Lastly, inshallah, after Isha, we'll have the youth activity. And then the final session will be about the reality of the grave presented by Mr. Hassan, inshallah ta'ala, and we will completely wrap up the evening by 9 p.m. inshallah.